Yeah, good. I give some love to this side of the room. I'm going to walk around over rather than stand at the podium, just because I prefer to do that. Thank you very much to Linda and to the other speakers. I'm not sure how I'm going to follow them. I'm sure I'm not as good a speaker as they are, but I'll do my best, and I hope I can give you some interesting information about the industry. And I'm going to talk today about 8 trends in the industry as we see it. I'm James Hewes, and I am President and CEO of FIPP, and I'll tell you a little bit more about FIPP and what we do in a moment. I was just, before I came here, I was doing some research about University of Mississippi. I should have said, by the way, I've just come off a plane from London, so it's like Grandpa Simpson if I suddenly go. I'm actually on 5 hours ahead or 6 hours ahead, or wherever the hell I am, I don't know. Anyway, I did some research about University of Mississippi. It's the first time I've been to Mississippi, first time I've been to this part of America, a beautiful town of Oxford here. Really enjoyed walking around this afternoon. And I noticed that the Meek School of Journalism is built on an old Civil War building. Anybody know what building used to be here, apart from current students? So it was built on the Dead House, which is where they used to store bodies in the Civil War. Now, I'm not going to make a joke about building a magazine centre on a dead house. I'm going to say instead that our industry has never been more vibrant, as you've just seen from Linda's presentation, and I hope today you will see that it's never been more diverse. First, you'll have to sit through a few minutes of me plugging FIPP. Apologies for that, I'll do that again at the end, but you know I'm here for a purpose, one of which is to try and convince you of the benefits of our fantastic organisation. What do we do at FIPP? Well, here's our core purpose. This is taken directly from our strategy document. We basically exist to help people in the industry, which is all of you, to do business with one another. And we do that in a number of different ways. Here are some of the people who are members of FIPP who have been convinced that we are a good thing. You can see brands there from across the world. We have members everywhere from America to Japan, from Chile to China, and a lot of the trends that you're going to see in the presentation today are taken from experiences from these companies and these brands. Just finally on FIPP and what we do, basically we focus on 3 areas. We do intelligence, which covers content analysis, we do event presentations, and we do all of that across our website, fipp.com, and across our social media platforms, which I hope you'll have a look at today after my talk. We do solutions, we focus on lead generations, we create discussion forums and committees for supply chain to meet the industry, and talk about issues around innovation and industry important issues. We do partnerships as well. We enable media owners to make connections with other businesses to help them grow their business, especially across border, and we do that through things like tailored introductions and networking. The trends I'm going to talk to you about today are taken from 2 of our landmark events. The first is the FIPP Congress. This happened in October of last year in London. Some of you were there. Thank you to those who came along. So give you a flavour of some of the events, which consists of a 650, 700 seat conference with an exhibition space. Large number of the world's publishing industry is present, so we get a good selection of what's going on across the world. And the second one is the Digital Innovators Summit, which happens every year in March in Berlin. The next episode is in March 2019. I hope you'll be there. Some of you were at the event a few weeks ago. Most notably Bo, thank you very much for coming to that. It was good to see you there. And that really focuses on the digital side of our business. So, across those 2 events, we get a sense of what's happening across the whole industry, across the whole world, and I hope I've distilled that down into something of interest to you that you won't find too boring in only another 40, 50, maybe maximum 60 slides. It's fine. But I wanted to start by putting our industry into context, and I wanted to do that by talking about humanity and human progress. And this is taken from a fantastic website. As you good journalist students in the room will know, you must always credit your sources. This is Wait But Why, with a fantastic guy called Tim Urban who runs that. I really encourage you to check that out. And he's talking about how bad humans are at estimating the future. If we're sat here at the present day and we think, well, this is what's happened over the last few years, our tendency is to extrapolate based on what we know and what happened in the last few years. And because we're living in a time of rapid change, we think, well, maybe that's not good enough. Maybe we need to estimate a little bit more progress, a little bit more growth. But even that's bad. Even if you estimate up a little bit, you only end up there. And his contention is that you should now be focusing your expectations on exponential growth. And exponential growth means that change will happen at a much faster rate in the future than it has done in the past. And this is really the situation that our industry is in at the moment. We are facing a time where 2019 will be exponentially more driven by change than 2018 was, and so on and so forth. And I want to just try and focus on some of the elements that make up that. Further, his contention is that humanity progresses in what he calls S-curves. You may have seen this before. The S-curve idea is that a technology emerges onto the scene, it undergoes a period of very rapid growth, and then it matures. Think about mobile phones, think about the internet. In our industry, think about the printing press. The printing press would have been one of these massive explosions around the time of Gutenberg. When was Gutenberg? I have no idea. 16th century? Any advance in the 16th? Anyway, you know when it was. And of course, then we went through this long period of maturity, and now we've come to the end of it. The trouble at the moment is that the gaps between those curves are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which is part of that idea of exponential change. If you think about social media as being the last big exponential growth, when did Facebook come around? 10 years ago? 2006, thank you very much, 12 years ago. So we probably had 12 years of explosive growth and maturity. And we're now about to go into another of these periods of explosive growth with AI, voice, blockchain, and big data, some of the things that I'm going to talk about in a minute. So add all that up together, and you end up with a picture of an industry that is facing change at a rate never seen before. So what are the trends that come out? What are the things that evolve from this position that we're in? Well, the first one has nothing to do with technology at all. We survey business leaders, CEOs, chairmen, and industry leaders from across the world, and the number one thing they all say every single time is the biggest challenge they're having is with talent and with culture, with people. Those of you who run businesses will know that you spend 80% of your time managing the people and 20% of the time doing the business. And that's reflected across the whole industry at the moment. Employers are facing more competition than ever for talent, and you've got to build the right environment. You've got to be an attractive employer. Each of these trends is illustrated with a couple of quotes from business leaders who've spoken at our events. The two here are from FIPP, which is print media in France, which is part of recruiter in the art, and Gary Lou from the South China Morning Post. I love what both of them have got to say. Invest in people, not technology. Technology does not change a corporate culture. And company culture is going to develop with or without the participation of the media execs. That was really interesting what Gary was saying about the transformation of SCMP. He was saying they had to do it because otherwise the company was going to do it anyway. So at least if the execs were in charge, they could guide it in the right direction. Because the staff, the talent in the business, were wanting to change the way it worked. You've got to be an agile business, you've got to be open to change, and you've got to really focus on training. Training, I always give the same example. If you're a business owner, a publishing industry business owner right now, what is your big focus? It's probably developing skills for Alexa. Who's got an Amazon voice thing in their house? Put your hand up. So the big rush, gold rush at the moment is developing skills for Alexa. But if you're a publisher, and you think to yourself, I need to do that really quickly, I need to go and hire some people to do that, where are you going to hire them from? This thing didn't exist 12 months ago. There are no skilled, experienced people who can develop things for Alexa. You have to train them in-house. Train them in-house, it's more motivational, and you get to keep that, the benefit of that, in terms of increased morale. There's also now a huge commitment, I think, in the industry, and a huge focus in the industry on diversity. The economic benefits as well as the moral benefits of diversity are now very well understood. Access to new talent and new networks that make sure that you're not wasting any of the potential that's out there. At the moment, you cannot afford to waste a single ounce of human potential in your business if you're going to keep up with the change that's going on. All this builds a better culture, which helps your business to respond more quickly to change. I just want to show you how important that is. This graph shows the number of staff that were employed in each of these businesses when they reached $200 billion in market cap. Look at the traditional businesses, General Electric, AT&T and Verizon, hundreds of thousands. Look at Facebook. They got to 200 billion market cap with 9,000 employees. The only exception is Amazon, which is now past 500,000, but that's because of Whole Foods. So in a world where big tech giants do so much with so little, you can see that talent has never been so important. There are no passengers anymore in businesses. Every person is vital. The second one is the elephant in the room, Facebook. Anybody see that picture of Mark Zuckerberg sitting on a cushion? That was like the first time I went, now we see the chink in the armor. They're short. The great thing at the moment is that not even Facebook knows where it's going. And if you look at some of the sense that's coming out of some of these senior leaders, this is Weber Shandwick, you cannot rely on Facebook to control your destiny. The notion that scale is everything has been replaced by the notion of relationships. And I love this one from James Wildman from Hearst UK. These massive tech platforms are essentially utilities. Facebook is the telephone line and we provide them with a conversation. And that drift towards consideration of Facebook and Twitter and Google as utilities is a theme I think you will see repeated quite a lot. What do you do with utilities if they become too big? You break them up. And I think that's very much a direction of travel for our industry. But the good thing is that the struggles that Facebook has been going through has made them more open than ever to dialogue. It's really interesting to see in Berlin, we had a senior person from Facebook there, and for the first time they said, we want to talk to you as an industry, we want to have a dialogue. I went to him afterwards and said, are you serious? He said, yes. So they're coming now to our next FIPP board meeting to have a proper conversation with some of the senior leaders in the industry for the first time. The other thing is that changes to the newsfeed algorithm can happen at any point. They don't have to consult you. It's their business, they can do what they like with it. That means if you rely on the newsfeed algorithm for your business, then, as somebody at Condé Nast said, you don't have a business, because you're relying entirely on somebody else. You have to have a balanced approach, and in the case at the moment, the buzzword is that SEO is back. Forgetting, of course, that you then make the same mistake of relying on Google as much as you did on Facebook, and you end up back where you started. Just to show the impact of what's happened to Facebook over the last year or so, this is something many of you will be familiar with. This is the Parsley referrer dashboard. It's available free on their website if you want to have a look. And it shows you what are the current referral sources for traffic for their customers in the industry, and their customers are a reasonably good sample. I said I was going to give more love to this sample over here, this one, because you guys can't see so well. This is the current sources of traffic for the industry at the moment, for Parsley's customers rather, which are a good representative sample of where the industry is at. And you can see the massive decline in Facebook over the last year or so, reflecting the changes in the newsfeed. And who's been the gainer from all of that? Pretty much it's Google. The other thing that always gets me about this is people talk about their digital strategy. Look at the other sources of referral traffic. There aren't any. There's Google and there's Facebook. And that's pretty much it. Now I've got a slide here, a trend here for Samir. Print matters. And print really does matter. And I love this quote from Christian Kallenberg. Why try to be part of virtual reality if you can be part of reality? And I picked a quote from Martin Sorrell last week before I discovered he'd been fired for whatever it is he's been fired for, we're not allowed to know. We'll find out, no doubt, at some point when some good journalist person uncovers it. Newspapers and magazines may be more effective than people give them credit for. And I wish we thought of that before we took all the ad money out of it, but anyway, don't worry about that. But the good news is that print is back. Print as a medium is finding its place in the media mix more than it ever has before. And as a tactile medium, it really does occupy a unique position. You can't touch and feel a website. You can't touch and feel a mobile application. You can touch and feel a magazine. It lingers in your house. And we have to build on that. We have to build on the perception of quality, the persistence that magazines have in our homes, and the trust. Linda spoke about a safe environment, a quality environment, a trusted environment, and a safe haven in an environment where digital media is not fully trusted is something that's going to be really, really valuable in the future. Print is also consumed very slowly, it lingers. Every year we publish this, the FIPP Innovation in Magazine Media Report. Some of you may have seen it. Every single year the authors of this find new innovations in print. The industry is continuing to innovate. This year's one was an advertiser in Brazil. Brazil, by the way, if you want to look at print innovation, Brazil is one of the most innovative markets in the world for print. They have an advertiser there who has printed their ad on heat-sensitive paper. It's an ad for training shoes. So if you want to custom fit your training shoe, you stand on the heat-sensitive paper, it takes an imprint of your feet, and then you can line it up with a size guide that they provided on the other page of the ad, so you get exactly the right training shoe for you. And that's with a new printing technique that they've invented just for that ad. So innovation every year. Another sales plug if you want to order copies, FIPP.com. Always worth a look, definitely worth a look. And I want to posit to you that there are probably at least 3 types of strong print journalism going on at the moment. There are many more. These are the first 3 that I can think of that I think I'd like to focus on. The first is strong journalism, which is unavailable online, really unique content. And I've picked here The Week, which many of you will have heard of, Monocle, which many of you will have heard of, and Private Eye, which some of you won't have heard of. Private Eye is probably the biggest selling news magazine in the UK. What do all 3 of those have in common? They pretty much don't have a digital strategy, deliberately, because they know their journalism or their offering is unique enough not to warrant them. Then there is repackaging, in this case bookazines, taking existing content and providing enhanced reader value, whether that's as a reference point or as a longer read for that special occasion, for a holiday or whatever. And then there is premium print products, things where the medium matters. I picked up in the airport the first time I'd seen it, the Airbnb magazine, some of you may have seen. So Airbnb, which is rightly lauded as one of the most innovative tech companies in the world, how did they feel they needed to get their message across in a printed magazine? Same with Hodiki. Same with Porter, which is Net-a-Porter's magazine. You all know Net-a-Porter? Online fashion. Fourth one is the state of advertising. I'm just going to run. We're going to be like Elvis and run around the room here while I talk about this and I need some water. So advertising is really at a crossroads. Advertising is really at a crossroads. And for years, advertising has been the lifeblood of our industry, but I can't ever remember a time when advertising has been less important to the industry than it is right now. Look at the quotes here. This is from MediaLink. The areas which have been proven to help publishers and advertisers grow their business are data proficiency, partnerships and trust. Fine. And from the Foundry, all the rules for native advertising and trust fall under one overarching principle. Respect is everything. You can see the trust word coming through there in a couple of cases. You need to use better technology to avoid intrusiveness. We've all seen the current debate around the use of data and privacy, well, it extends equally into the ad world. People don't like those targeted ads. You need to be clever about how you use technology. Native, I think for me, the debate between the silos, do you have an editorial team here, an advertising team there, that debate is gone. If you have silos, then your business is in the dark age, frankly. Silos are a thing of the past. You should trust your editors to know what is commercial content and what is not. But also beware the bubble. Is native advertising a bubble? I've heard that suggested recently for the first time. People actually don't want advertising in any form, that they view native even more negatively than traditional advertising because they know it's advertising, but they think you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes. The same with video. Partner with platforms, yes, create brand deal, sponsor video content, put your video content behind a paywall, but video may also be a bit of a spent force. And most importantly of all, and the issue that I bang on about a lot, ad fraud and transparency. And for those of you who don't know the scale of this problem, I'm going to show you in a minute. It's really important that we as an industry come together to address the issues around ad fraud. This is probably the most significant financial factor facing our industry today. Just an illustration of the scale of the problem. This is a bot traffic report. Sorry, I haven't got a source on there. I can't remember what the source was, but bot traffic report for 2016. This is surveying traffic on the internet. And this found that half the traffic on the internet is not real people, it's bots, bits of code running around and doing stuff. And of the half again is bad. Stuff that is out there trying to do some harm. And by far the biggest proportion of that is impersonators. It's me pretending to be something that I'm not. The Financial Times and News UK, which published Sunday Times and the Times in the UK, ran a test recently. They switched all of their advertising off on the exchanges, on the programmatic exchanges, to see what the effect would be. And they discovered that even after they switched all the advertising off, ads were still being sold for their products. They estimated that they were losing £12 million a year each to ad fraud. And that to the industry overall, this issue is costing us billions of dollars a year. So despite what we might think about everything else, a huge proportion of our potential revenue is going straight into the hands of criminals. And we need to do something about that. Onto a more positive note, subscriptions and reader revenue. The focus really for a lot of publishing companies has switched now to how you can monetize your reader directly. The quotes here, love this one from The Economist from Michael Brunt. We now charge the same for a digital subscription as for a print subscription on the grounds that you are paying for the content and not the format. Hallelujah. Finally we understood what it is that makes us different. Not the paper and the print, but the content. And we can charge accordingly. And from whence in your, if it is valued, if it is unique, if it is something you can't get anywhere else, and it speaks to their passions, makes them smarter, gives them advantages and entertains them, readers should pay for it. Sounds logical, but it's taken us 20 years to get there. Should have said, by the way, for those people taking pictures of the slides, you don't need to. I will make sure that you will get a copy of the slides afterwards. So the first area of this is subscriptions. And subscriptions is something that we forgot we're good at as an industry. We've been really good at subscriptions for a very long time. Subscriptions is what Netflix and Spotify and all those other people do, but we know how to do that. Because we've been doing it longer than they have. The success of the New York Times and the Washington Post and the Economist shows that people are prepared to pay for quality, specialist content, and I emphasize the word specialist. And I use the example here of Ben Affleck and his tattoo. Everybody know Ben Affleck's tattoo that was for a movie until we all realized he got drunk and actually had done for real. So if you're a celebrity magazine and you want people to pay for a picture of Ben Affleck and his tattoo, nobody's going to pay for that. Because that's everywhere. Google it and you'll find it. If you're a tattoo magazine and you've got the world's best tattoo artist giving a critique of the technique used to create that tattoo and what he would do to fix it, and you're a tattoo enthusiast, you might be prepared to pay for that. Because that's interesting, specialist, unique content. And for too long, when we talk about the decline of the industry, we're talking about the decline of Ben Affleck's tattoo picture. And actually, the industry now is the tattoo specialist. E-commerce can't be a bolt-on. It has to be fully integrated, it has to be seamless. People don't want to see the joins anymore. And that means you've got a technology, you can see my words, transactional technology job to do. Look at publishing companies today, they hire as many technology specialists as they do journalists. But it can be very powerful when it's linked to a specialist audience. If you look at the example in the UK of Haymarket and Dennis, two specialist companies that specialise in automotive, what do they now do? They sell cars. And when I say they sell cars, I don't mean they have an affiliate deal, I mean they actually have warehouses full of cars. And in Dennis's case, they make a third of their profit from selling cars because they seamlessly integrate that process into their automotive businesses. And then finally, events. If you're not doing events, you should be. They're loved by everybody. Readers love them. Advertisers love them. And if you get them right, they're very, very lucrative. They also drive a lot of data. This one you might have seen before. Apologies if you have. This is the New York Times' revenue sources over the years, just to illustrate how powerful this can be if you get it right. Now, the clever folk among you, the mathematicians among you, will notice that this is, although 100% doesn't show you that the pie may have got smaller, but nevertheless, it shows the balance of revenue. And you can see the difference between their print advertising revenue, which in 2000 was 70% of their business, as compared to their circulation business, and where that number is now. It's probably more than that, it's probably less than that now. 28% in 2015 is their print advertising business. Circulation, print and digital subscriptions is now 54% of their business. In other words, they are now no longer an advertising business, they are a subscription and reader revenue business. The sixth one is platforms and platform-focused content. And the plethora of new platforms that we've been asked to publish on has created new demands in content and in marketing. Video, we've seen already, we all pushed in this direction, but it's not easy. It can create deep engagement, but it costs a lot of money. Podcasts are more interesting. First they were hot, then they were not. But voice devices might make them a hidden gem again now. Google are talking about podcasts as being the thing that they expect to benefit the most from the advent of voice. And speaking of voice, it's been frantically pursued by everyone. Everybody and their dog is doing voice applications at the moment. But once again, what did we all do? Clever industry that we are. Amazon sent us some TNCs, we didn't read them, we clicked OK. And now suddenly we've all realised that when Amazon wants to turn that service off, they can without paying us anything. So, got to get away from this cycle of going after the hype curve just because it's there. We've also got to see what the use case is for voice. Now, not many of you have got them. How many of you have ever used Siri for anything other than asking what the weather is going to be like today? How many of you are going to use your Amazon device for asking anything other than the weather? Okay, not many of you, less than a third. You've got to get to the point where voice is not just about, what's the weather going to be like today, Siri? So how do you approach this? The best approach is to explore the platforms and only commit when you can create clear and distinctive content. And I think the other big learning that a lot of publishers are coming to is you don't have to play on every platform. If there are platforms that don't work for you, then don't play on them. Don't feel as though just because your neighbour has got a Pinterest account that you have to have one. If you're not able to create genuinely engaging content, then don't. You also need to be in a position to challenge fake news. It's another really important issue for our industry. I won't belabor the point, you all know what we're talking about here, but the credibility of what we do is at stake here, and we have to retain that credibility. We have to protect authentic journalism and hope that this is just a fad that's going to blow over. You all know that the power of the platforms here is a very powerful graph just to show you what that actually means in real terms. This shows the internet advertising market growth in the US 2015-2016, and this is proof of the oft-repeated statistic that about 9 out of every 10 new ad dollars that come into the digital market at the moment go to Facebook and Google. This excludes Amazon. Amazon is now here. I think it will be here, and I think eventually it will be bigger than Facebook. Amazon is the big up-and-coming player in this space. And to give you some hope that fake news might just be a fad, this is the Google trend for fake news. Didn't exist as a term until basically the 2016 election. And hopefully it'll die a natural death. Well, let's see. Number 7, nearly done. Blockchain. Is blockchain BETAMAX or is it VHS? Who understands blockchain? 1, 2.5. I haven't put my own hand up, but I'm going to be a half as well. I understand blockchain, but I don't understand why it's going to be so important. To me, it just seems like a better form of ledger book. Anyway. Clearly I'm wrong, because Larry Summers, US Treasury Secretary, says blockchain will change financial practice and exchange. 40 years from now, blockchain will figure more prominently in that story than will Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a kind of public, consumer-facing view of blockchain at the moment. Blockchain is a technology that sits underneath it. Mark Andreessen, that's how you say his name, noted internet entrepreneur. Bitcoin gives us for the first time a way to transfer a unique piece of digital property such that the transfer is guaranteed to be safe and secure, and blah, blah, blah. You can read the rest of that. So those two guys are convinced, as are the believers, that it's going to revolutionize everything, starting with how we pay for and distribute things. And there are some big players already playing in this space, MasterCard and Samsung among them. But like any emerging technology, we have to be a little bit careful and see if it translates into real change for consumers, or if it ends up a bit like Amazon Web Services, something very important, but something that sits in the background and powers a lot of other stuff. So blockchain is on a lot of people's minds. We're not sure yet whether it's hype or reality. I did see this slide, which was provided by a techie guy at one of our conferences, suggesting that there is no element of Web 2.0, the web environment that we live in at the moment, that could not be replaced by a blockchain alternative. Now, I think that's a little bit over-optimistic, but nevertheless, his point is a valid one. that if you were being theoretical about it, you can apply blockchain to all of these different industries, segments of the industry, whether it's Google, Facebook, Netflix, or Amazon. And then finally we come to AI. And AI is also an emerging technology, but it's one that's starting to be used by an increasing number of media organizations, particularly in combination with their big data strategies. A couple of quotes there. Martha Stone, leveraging the power of AI and big data strategies throughout the entire value chain should already be central for every media company. It's a really important part of strategy right now. Another one, the heavy lifting of duplication and generic content creation can be automated, leaving more time for creative writing and effective storytelling. And it's really that question of the extent to which AI can go beyond merely replicating routine tasks and doing something genuinely different and genuinely innovative that I think is at the core of the extent to which AI will become an integral part of our publishing industry businesses. And I want to end really with Wait But Wise view on AI, going back to the beginning, where their suggestion is that AI, we're here right now, and we're all going, oh, look, the robot can do monkey tricks, isn't that funny? And pardon the French, in a few years' time we're going to go, the robots take off. Now the AI is smarter than we are. So this is, if you think about exponential change, this is exponential change in what it means to AI. At the moment we're at the level of about, we're just past an ant. So it doesn't take very long to go from ant to Einstein. And if they're listening, I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords. I'm prepared to do whatever they say, because they're clearly smarter than me. That's everything from me. I hope that was very useful. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed that, then please do come to our forthcoming events. There's FIPP Asia. If you fancy making the trek out to China in September, we will be there. There is also the next Congress in Las Vegas in 2019. So if you want to come along to that, it'll be a great time for everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Twitter is there, email is there.